Six crucial considerations when designing a high ticket offer. Now, number one is, what is a high ticket offer? Well, essentially for a pet care business, it can be many different things, but typically we can summarize it to being something that costs, say, $1,000 or more. Okay, why would we consider creating a high ticket offer? Well, there's really three primary reasons. One is it allows us to serve our clients on a deeper level in a ways that we might not be already, or to the depth that they'd like. The second piece is because it can provide predictable and consistent income, which takes a little bit of pressure off of you if you're trying to make ends meet every month. The third piece is minimizing burnout. Since you're going to have to physically work with less clients and everything that comes with that, because sometimes when you have more clients, there's a lot more administration, there's a lot more phone calls, there's a lot more cancellations and reschedules, etc. That if you are serving those clients on a deeper level and working with them more, you don't need as many clients. So without further ado, what we'll do now is just jump into the 6 crucial considerations when designing a high ticket offer. So what I'm going to begin with is just sharing my screen, and then we'll go through this stuff real quick. It will just take me a brief moment to bring it up. Here we are. So now the first consideration is a value proposition. So what we want to do is make sure that we have it's exponential value to the consumer. Unique benefits and solutions, specific pain point or desire. So with the value proposition, it has to be something important, right? If you just want to provide a whole bunch of services that everyone else does, or you just carbon copy a program that someone else has, it might not sell as well. But for instance, I'll give you an example with, say, dog training. If you just have on your website, hey, 3 private sessions, 6 private sessions, 10 private sessions, and the numbers or costs associated with that, that's going to be less attractive than if someone has hey, reactive rover, training program, where it all encompasses specifically the issue that the people are dealing with. So since you're talking about a specific pain point, the people being concerned their dog might bite, or their dog might get away, or their dog is embarrassing them and frustrating, etc., it becomes a lot more attractive because you're speaking directly to them versus some general ambiguous, hey, 3 private sessions, 6 private sessions, 10 private sessions. So the value proposition, you want to create exponential value. So if you looked at the two side by side, let's say on 2 separate websites, one is kind of open-ended and you're like, well, how many sessions do I need? I'd like to get it done in 3 maybe, but the 6th one's kind of expensive. Versus if you look at the other website and it's specifically telling you, hey, we're going to help your dog go from reactive to a rock star where they can walk and you can actually enjoy it and they're not going to embarrass you or pull your arm out of your socket or injure anyone. And then you're going to be bought into that solution because it's specifically talking for you. So you might have an easier time paying for 6 sessions with that program because of how it was positioned. Okay. So what I want you to think about is maybe taking some notes throughout this and just writing down what kinds of things could I lump together for my services that might, provide a specific pain point or desire, or, to go on the other side of it, it might be hey, maybe you offer some really high level grooming services that some of your clients just love it because it's like a spa for their dog and they have the disposable income to pay for extra services that include massage, nail colorings, coat colorings, whatever kinds of things people are interested in. Maybe it's a braid or something. I'm not saying that's a thing, but just hypothetically. Second consideration is your target audience. This is very important. Okay. Why? Because you have to identify 2 target audiences here. One is the client, the human that pays, and the second is the animal, cat, dog, whatever kind of species you're working with. So, think about if we go back to maybe, a threatening dog for training, it makes a bit more sense if I'll give an example, right? So who's your ideal client? Well, typically in my experience, we have a lot higher likelihood of working with a younger couple. So, somewhere between 20 and 40 years old, a couple, male and female, no kids, that are, have a dog that they adopted or what have you, or raised from a puppy that now has some undesirable traits and behaviors that they want to work through. And they're a lot more motivated to pay, potentially extra because they have the income to do so and their dog's behavior is escalated. So my ideal client might be, 20 to 40-year-old couple. Now, who's the dog? Who's the ideal client dog? Well, the ideal client dog is going to be, more of a behavioral case or issue dog. So that could look, like I said, like a leash reactive one where the dog, has a fit on leash when it sees other dogs and can't hold its stuff together. So that's a simple example. So then you got to think about, like, what are their needs? Okay, preferences, purchasing behavior of the person. So the needs of the person in this specific example are they need to feel confident and in control that they can manage their dog around other dogs. What are their preferences? Probably to not be in pain, physical pain, when they're walking their dog. Purchasing behavior, that can be a little bit harder to determine with this specific niche, but it might be easier for grooming, let's say. Some purchasing behavior as examples for grooming might be, typically this client comes in every 8 weeks for their dog to get groomed. That could be an example of purchasing behavior, or I'll leave it at that. So then what are the needs of the animal? So depending on where you want to go with this specifically, as far as what potential high ticket offer you might provide, let's say, it's pet sitting. Let's pretend you want to create an executive package for, some of your busy professional pet sitting clients. And, what are the needs of their dog? Well, they're a lawyer, they work long hours, they're gone for 12 hours. We might have to do 2 visits, during the days that they're working. And what could that include? Well, an executive package might include the needs of that animal are social interaction. So maybe you take the dog out for a potty, but you also take them to the dog park. Maybe they require some training. The dog needs, to be able to kind of, what's the word? Not self-soothe, but, kind of develop that impulse control to not like have to get instant gratification and relax. Now, the dog isn't going to think it needs that, but the human thinks it's going to need that. So that's why it's something that's important. So anyways, to just kind of wrap those two pieces up, value proposition, you want to make sure that it's like a high level service that you don't really see anyone else offering. So for me, when we started, and this, I'm just using the behavioral program as a simple option because it's something that I've done, in numerous different ways. But, or here, maybe I'll shift. Let's say training, but for puppies. So, a value, an exceptional value you could offer is like, let's pretend you developed a puppy training program for your clients that have puppies. So what could it encompass? Well, exceptional value would include, hey, you're helping them every step of the way for the next 6 months. So maybe that's like on-demand private session assistance. Maybe that it includes 6 or 12 group dog training sessions. Maybe that encompasses a puppy daycare and training. Oh, you also get closed our membership access to our closed Facebook group or membership site where we have 50 videos all about, puppy training and working through common challenges through puppyhood. Like, that's an exceptional amount of value that you're stacking on top and top, right? So most facilities only offer 1 or 2 of these things, not 5, right? So you're going to really position yourself in a different place if, one, you name it something cool, like let's just pretend it's your puppy all-star package. So there's kind of a distinct name that goes along with it. And what does it include? 12 group class sessions, on-demand private assistance, virtually or in person. Puppy daycare and training. And then you get, closed Facebook like a membership site access to videos. So there's like 5 really big, crucial pillars of how people need help with puppies, and you're meeting and satisfying them every step of the way. So in any event, just be mindful of that. I'll move on to the next piece, which is our number 3 for market research. So is there a demand for this offer? Sometimes you have to just follow your instincts, and sometimes you really have to research it, right? So for example, I'll give you a time that I created an offer. It was not a high ticket offer, but it was just an offer for like, get your dog to come virtually every time. And it didn't do that well. I created virtual infrastructure and I tried to sell it, and I didn't sell very many of them. But what I realized after the fact, after I invested a lot of time, was that people had so many challenges with their dog that if I could just fix one, that wasn't super appealing. So they're like, yeah, my dog won't come and call, but it also walks poorly on a leash. It also barks at my front window. It also. So them, spending a few $100s for one of their issues, didn't necessarily make sense to them. So just keep that in mind. It's simpler to tell in certain industries of pets than it is in others. So, is there a demand for this offer? Well, there's always a demand to help with puppy training and, behavioral challenges. There's always a demand for a dog having grooming needs. So some of those things are pretty standard. There's typically, unless it's COVID, a demand for your dog to be boarded in a boarding facility. And daycare as well, but obviously that's more of like a disposable income, and people have to believe there's value in it for them to spend, which is totally good. Competition. So what you can do is just look at other businesses in and around your area or further out and be like, is anyone doing this thing that I want to do? And if they are, what are they charging? And how could I separate myself and make myself stand out in comparison to the competition? The next piece of it is, what's the price structure that would work for you and the client? So you got to think about, if you're going to, when you position yourself from a place of leading with price and not necessarily prior establishing the high exceptional value that you have, you accidentally precondition your audience to price shop. So for example, if you only put, hey, 3 private sessions, 6 private sessions, 10 private sessions, these are the costs. Well, you're kind of unintentionally being the Walmart, like roll back the, how they have the rollback commercials, where then they're looking for other places that offer the same similar service and what they are for their packages, right? So then they're going to look, okay, 3 sessions cost $400 at this facility. Well, it's only $200 at this other one, and it's $600 at this other one. Where should we go? Maybe we'll go in the middle. So I don't want my potential client to be looking at me like, well, who's got the cheapest prices or mid-tier or whatever. I want them to be like, this person is the solution to my problem. So that's why we spend more time creating a tailored message to specifically treat certain issues, and then we become that, and then the prospective client is less like trying to compare your service to other people's, because no one offers the same thing, like where they don't visibly see someone offering the same thing that you're offering. So you're putting yourself in a different category, which then allows you to charge what you want to. So anyways, pricing structure is going to be relative to your time, how you can scale it, and how much value you're bringing. I'll tell you this just very shortly. The bigger issues you solve, the more people are willing to pay for them. So for example, it might be a little harder for me to, get a puppy into a $2,000 program than it would be for me to get a adult dog that's, having some moderate behavioral issues. Obviously, they can both say yes and they could both say no, and it depends. But statistically, it's going to be a bit more of a challenge for a puppy versus a behavioral case for that kind of a price point. Doesn't mean you can't do it. In any event, just kind of keep that in mind of, if people are accustomed to paying $160 for a 6-week program, and they are 6-week group class where they have 6 single sessions, you saying, hey, I've got this $2,000 all-inclusive puppy program, they might not see the value in it unless you propose to them specifically why it's so valuable, if they're accustomed to paying a tenth or so or whatever it is of that price. You can definitely do it, but you have to make sure you position it properly before. All right, number 4, quality and credibility. Okay, so exceptional quality. Basically, you need to make sure that you can actually fulfill on the things that you're promising. The last thing you want to do is have some high ticket offer that you can't actually fulfill on, and people are like, pay you a lot of money, and you're like, yeah, these results are lackluster. So you got to make sure that, the quality goes with it. The other piece of it is, showcasing your results and your expertise. So sometimes that comes with, actually creating videos on how you helped fill in the blank person, or you worked with this dog, and explaining some of those things. So when people see, the results that you've helped others create, it helps them believe like, oh, this person might be the exact solution to my problem, versus them just being like, I hope one of these dog trainers can help me that offer these package programs, even though they explicitly don't say they work with my type of dog. The other piece of quality and credibility is investing in top-notch materials and technology. So what does that mean? Maybe it means you have, a membership site that you pay extra for yourself to host a series of videos where people can go into it and watch on demand when they're not working with you in person. Obviously, there's many different ways that could be. Another example for me personally is like I'll live stream Q&A coaching calls with my business pet industry professional clients into a closed Facebook group. So that's like a top-notch thing where if people can't make the live call, they can actually live stream it on their phone on Facebook or go back and watch a replay of it later. Okay, 2 more left, marketing and promotion. So what I'm going to just do is stop sharing the screen for a brief moment. But when it comes to marketing promotion, what if you want to sell a high ticket offer, you're going to have to learn to be or develop a plan for like robust marketing. What does that mean? It doesn't have to necessarily be complicated, but marketing meaning, hey, how am I delivering the fact that I offer this, exclusive service to my clients? How am I positioning it from a standpoint of, helping the client or potential client see their problem and that I might be the solution over here? So those things are very important, because if you're coming to a standpoint of, hey, everyone, we've got a sale on our 3-session packages, save $15. That's not a robust marketing strategy. You're going to not necessarily get the clients you want, nor are you going to be able to charge what you're actually worth for solving those problems. However, if you're marketing yourself from a standpoint of, and I'm just going to go back to the behavioral stuff again, because it's really simple and in my mind, I have in our brick and mortar dog training business, we have a From Chaos to Harmony program, which really encompasses working with the top 3 challenges when it comes to, behavioral issues or problem behaviors with dogs. So it's like dog to dog issues in the home, dog to dog issues outside of the home, and distrust of guests or strangers. So with that, my Chaos to Harmony program really encompasses like, hey, this is where you're at, this is where we're going to take you, and this is how we're going to get there. So there's much more of like a tour and a path that makes sense to people where, we're kind of positioning ourselves in a much different capacity than most of the competition, because the competition is typically mostly like, hey, we have 3-session packs, 10 packs, etc. Okay. So but as well, we can do things on social media to further promote ourselves and market ourselves. So there's also the other consideration is online and offline promoting. So what we mean by that is, well, online might be specifically where, it's social media. So let's say I am doing a posting schedule for my profile or my business account where I'm talking about like, hey, I'm bringing awareness and education to my audience of potential dog training clients about, hey, what's the biggest issue you're having right now? People raise their hand and say, oh, my dog's barking at the mailman. And then I do a training about, how you can get some results with that right away. And then later in the week, I might be like, hey, if you'd like some additional assistance, raise your hand and we can see if we can give you a hand. But offline promotion might be like thinking of like maybe an email campaign. It's still technically online, but not social media per se. Obviously, there's varying other ways that you can do offline promotion, radio ads, any kinds of ads, essentially, but not necessarily something that we need to do. We do so much organic Facebook marketing that I don't ever pay for ads. Just because we've gotten really good at learning how to do that. Last piece of it is networking with, other professionals. This is a huge one. Once other people in the industry know what you offer and that it complements their service, then they're more than willing to, send clients to you, providing you reciprocate and go back and forth. So like for me, when I'm creating this kind of a service, I would try to make sure that it might solve someone else's problem in the industry. So what do I mean by that? So for example, once again, with training, I wrote a book called A Human's Guide to Surviving Puppyhood. And what I did, my full intention was to print off a whole bunch of free copies, which I have and continue to do, and give them to local veterinary offices to give puppy owners. So that when, the puppy owners are in getting vaccinations and boosters, et cetera, at their veterinarian, and they're asking all these things like, well, how do I house train it? How do I crate train it? What kind of socialization, et cetera? And the vet's like, I don't have time to go through all this training stuff with you. They can literally just hand them the book. So what I did was I tried to be mindful of kind of somewhat solving a problem for someone else that also is a win-win for me, where, I might get some residual business from it. So if you think about that, where can your service complement another? So an example would be like, I have our Chaos to Harmony program, where we're working with dogs with reactivity towards other dogs. We'll make progress. We'll do, say, a 5-session, program, which is, encompassed as a 60-day program. And then after it, I will actually refer these clients to a daycare that I have a great relationship with, or a couple of them, because they have like a next level resocialization program where the dogs can get off leash, but in a tiered, structured format, and start to continue their resocialization development if they're a suitable candidate. So then it's a two-way street, right? If they're too early in the process, the daycare will refer them to me. And if they've passed, my program, I refer them back to the other daycare. So it works really well when you can help others in the industry and they help back, right? So anyways, last one, 6, customer support and engagement. Now, what does this mean? Now, essentially, it means like fulfillment systems. Now, what does fulfillment mean? Well, it's how you're actually going to deliver your service. So let's pretend you have a 60-day program for dog-to-dog issues, for a leash reactivity. Okay, how are you going to deliver that? Well, our program is going to encompass 5 in-person sessions. We're going to make sure that we give access to our membership site where people can log in and watch video trainings on demand. We're going to provide them access with, email check-ins if they need to send us a message with a question rather, in between our weekly, bi-weekly, whatever visit schedule you have. And that's going to be how you're fulfilling it. So think of, from start to end, what do I need to onboard this client so that they, go through the program and have the best amount of success possible? Well, step 1 is, taking payment, maybe, let's say. Step 2 is, I got to invite them into the closed Facebook group and get them to watch the first 5 videos. Step 3 is, we're going to book our first session. Step 4 is, at the end of the session, I'm going to give them some more homework or maybe a handout or whatever. And then you go down, that's your fulfillment process. So you got to make sure that it is systematized. So you provide a consistent service each time, regardless if you're working with 1 or 5 clients, that the way you deliver it is in the same structured way and with predictable results. Assistance and accessibility when it comes to customer support is what I kind of already touched on. You might want to make yourself somewhat available, or for this premium package, they might get access to, a check-in in between their in-person sessions. That could be a phone call, a text message, email, whatever. You don't have to, but I'm just saying that could be. Address things as they arise immediately. So, when you have someone in a higher ticket option, you might be able to get them extra access to you, but they're going to pay a premium for that. All right, so last is ideas of what some high ticket offers might be for your particular business. I talked a lot about training, but this can be for any pet industry business or any business for that matter. But for example, with training, maybe it's an in-person behavioral program. So like I had mentioned, we have our From Chaos to Harmony program. Naming things is really important. It distinguishes you from the competition, but also it helps to kind of package up and make sense of, what it is that you're actually going to provide or what issue you're going to solve, right? So chaos to harmony, you're like, oh, well, this program's going to get us from A to B. So for example, another possibility for training is a board and training program, right? Maybe you have it it's a, you know, say boarding boot camp or something, right? Like just have some kind of a name and what the result will be at the end of it. Puppy all-star program, right? So that could be another option. Now you can figure out any names you want, go into ChatGPT and be like, hey, give me some specialty names for these kinds of services. And they'll come up with a whole bunch that you can kind of pick what makes sense to you. Anyways, boarding, you know, for boarding, it might be an exclusive boarding package that could include spa, daycare, and boarding, where it might be like, hey, you know, normally this week of boarding costs whatever, $500, but with these inclusions of boarding and training and daycare and spa, well, now it's $1,250. So there's some option like that. Or maybe you want to have like a promo where people can buy 10 nights and get 2 for free, because you're like, hey, I'd like to bring in $50 or $500 or whatever the amount of money is in a short term. For daycares, there's an option to have, like, say, a back to school doggy daycare and training program where, you know, it's a bit of a higher ticket offer because maybe they're going to come twice a week and the people are going to sign up for 8 weeks or a month or whatever. And it could be, you know, 500 to 1,000 or more, where, you know, there's extra added bonuses where maybe your daycare includes nail trims, as well as a lunch, as well as fill in the blank, maybe a bath once a month. Same deal. If you offer a subscription for daycare, you might be able to get away with a 6-month prepaid subscription. So if people prepay for 6 months in advance, you know, they may be able to save 10%, which brings you a ton of capital in right at that moment. And people often will pay for it if you have some capital investments you want to, you know, get to or something. Grooming, 6 to 12 months prepaid spa package. So this could be, you know, it could be your gold package, your platinum package, your silver, your bronze, where maybe it's like you have a 3, 6, 9, 12 month options where if they prepay, you know, maybe they get bonuses that otherwise they wouldn't have got. So if like, let's pretend that there's a specific dog on a rotating 8-week grooming schedule. You're like, hey, Martha, well, what I'm going to propose to you is for the next 12 months, you consider jumping into our platinum spa package where your dog's going to get A, B, C, D. So maybe the price point is just a little bit higher per groom, but when they pay it lump sum, they get like 3 or 4 bonuses. What could the bonuses be? Maybe it's product, maybe it's you know, painted nails, maybe it's a brush. Like, I don't know. You'd have to figure this out for yourself, but just spitballing. Last being pet sitting. Let's say you have an executive pet sitting package or program. What could that include? Daily walks, nail trims, training, and overnights, all in one comprehensive program where someone might be willing to pay, you know, $1,000 a month or for 2 months or whatever the duration is that you would potentially offer that service, that they find lots of value in, right? So let's just pretend you only meet them like once a week or twice a week or whatever. It might be like, hey, prepaid 2 months subscription into our executive pet sitting package, and it's $1,000. So in any event, I hope this gives you some ideas of how to start the process. And, you know, naturally, there's a lot of things that you kind of have to determine, but I'm trying to help demystify the process of how you can, you know, choose and implement and strategize on, you know, filling up this kind of a program. If you'd actually like some help with every step of the way, from planning to selling and scaling a high ticket offer, you know, comment high ticket in the comments wherever you can, and I'll reach out to you and see if I could possibly assist. If not, no worries. But what I hope you did was take some value from these insights today and, you know, move forward as best as you can with considering and implementing a high ticket offer.